So today we're looking at the Primary Arms Advanced Micro Dot, and I should mention at the time of this filming, so if you see this in 6 months it might not apply, I am doing a 1,000 sub giveaway, so be sure to go check that out. You go look at my video feed, it's all there. So we're looking at this red dot, and this is kind of the first red dot I've ever reviewed, so it's kind of an interesting one to do. Had this for about 2 years and decided, hey, I should probably review this because I've really not had any bad experiences with it. So what we're looking at, it's a fairly basic dot, and if I was going to describe this dot in one sentence, it would be the essentials and nothing else. This dot is very simple, and it's does not have any of the super extra crazy features that you see, like shake a weight or auto settings, all that stuff. It's just a basic bare bones dot, but if you're looking for something like that, I think this is an excellent selection. So I'll go over a few of the small specs. I'm not going to go crazy nuts because I know some people do super crazy in-depth torture tests and they give you all the specs, and so does a website, so I'm just going to be basic. 2 MOA dot, it has 12 different brightness settings, and it is water resistant, not waterproof. Most electronics are water resistant, not waterproof. And it comes with a low profile base that can hook onto a Picatinny rail. Let's get into it. So, one of the things I like about this dot is it does not, and I got the newer version that has these rather than the knob, because when you're looking down the barrel of the gun, looking at your red dot, if you want to adjust it, it's very intuitive to have forward be up, backward be down, so I can turn it on, but you can turn it on with any one of these buttons, either of the two. Right, and then you can adjust it as needed. Now the dot's real big in the camera because it doesn't quite know how to focus on it, but yeah, like you can see there, it's huge, but it does just real nice. And I like the adjustment because, especially shooting indoors and outdoors, you can really adjust it to be a really fine, crisp dot. I do have a little bit of astigmatism, so it does help being able to turn it down a little bit, which I did notice. For astigmatism, it wasn't terrible. I mean, if I turn it way up, it does kind of bleed out. But if I keep the dot down low, I did not really have any issue, and I was still able to use the dot quite efficiently. Alright, so buttons on here, right, up and down. But to turn it off, which it has a 50,000 hour battery life, which after 2 years I'm on the original battery, but I still do turn it off just because, hey, who wants to buy extra batteries? But to turn it off, right, you just click both of these at the same time, and that clicks it off. So it's really nice. You could leave it on forever, and again, 50,000 hour battery life, no problem there. But for me, it's a target gun, so no point in leaving the dot on, because I don't think, unless we get zombies, I probably won't be pulling this out for a defensive situation. So I like that. The water resistant, I have not dunked this in a tank of water. I paid for it myself, so I'm not going to abuse something if I don't have to. But it has gotten wet a few times at the outdoor range, and I've had no issues. It's held up just fine, and I can say that it's definitely sealed well enough so that if you're shooting in the rain, it will not destroy the dot. As far as the dot itself, it is a pretty crisp, clean dot. Again, I can't really show it on the camera because it doesn't understand. But I went and did some groups the other day, and this was me shooting at 25 yards with the dot, and those were good. Now keep in mind, these groups, like these targets are the size of the palm of my hand, so they're pretty small, but I was able to hold some pretty good groups. Probably could have done a little bit better. This dot is definitely more accurate than I am, and at the moment more accurate than this gun with the factory trigger. So yes, I'm blaming myself and the gun, but not the dot. But those were the groups I was able to hold at 25 yards, pulling a little tiny bit to the right on that day, but I think they're pretty good, especially at 25 yards. So yeah, just overall really basic dot. Does not have any of the fancy features, but it's a sub $200 dot. I believe I paid somewhere around $150. I got it from Optics Planet a couple years ago, might be a little bit less, and for that money, I think you get a good solid dot that's going to do what you need it to do. Does have the ability to mount different risers and stuff on there. Does not come with them, which again, for that price point, you don't get a lot of these fancy extras. But it does have the ability to mount different risers and hook on, again, I think I mentioned hooks onto a Picatinny rail. Does give you a nice little lens cover for when you want to store it, if that's how you want to store it. Obviously does not have flip-ups or anything on there. You might be able to get them, I'm not sure. But overall, it's just a nice little compact dot. So really don't have much else to say about it. It's worked after 2 years. It held 0. It's worked good, and I will probably stick it on something else now that I took it off my Ruger Mark IV competition. I might try putting it on a rifle. I have not tested it under heavy recoil. The only gun it was ever on was this. Now, granted, I put several thousand rounds of 22 through this gun with this dot attached, so I guess you could maybe chalk that up to being like a couple 500 magnums. But I've seen some people put it on some pretty heavy recoiling stuff, and it's held up, so I would imagine it would. But yeah, just like I said, overall, not really much bad to say. It's a very simple dot, but at the same time, you're not paying for any of the fancy bells and whistles, so you kind of expect that. But that's my review. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and have a good day.